Welcome back. A man whose father died after contracting COVID-19 was so struck by the lack of PPE worn by those looking after him that he vowed to make a difference. Matthew McGann started the charity Mask Our Heroes and has now donated more than 70,000 masks to frontline services. But he says workers are still facing difficulties getting the protection they need. And I'm pleased to say that he joins us now. Matthew, really good to see you this morning. I want to talk to you, of course, at some length about the research that Mask Our Heroes has carried out. But just remind us of the story of your father and his passing and why you came to set up Mask Our Heroes.
Good morning, Neil. Thank you for having me on. Yes, sadly, I lost Dad to COVID-19 on the start of this, really, but March the 30th. I was in the unfortunate position of watching this thing unravel whilst Dad was recovering from a previous illness from inside Epsom General. And so I suppose that I had a different view of this thing as it unravelled. Yes, sadly, we lost Dad on the 30th, and that was all the inspiration that I needed to get this great group of people together for Mask Our Heroes and set up the charity. It was purely driven by the fact that I'd lost Dad, who was my business partner and my best friend, watching everything that was happening inside the hospital and watching these nurses and doctors, just the most fantastic people, just dealing with this thing that just shook the hospital over a period of, it was so quick, over 10 days. As I say, that was all the inspiration I needed to set the charity up and try and find a way of getting the much needed PPE into the UK.
Well, personally, Matthew, I find it absolutely staggering that you can take an event as sad as the loss of your father and turn it into a force for good. So very well done, you. We also know that at the very beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, there were huge problems, as you noticed, in terms of the provision of PPE, and that has been well documented. But what is the state of affairs on the front line right now?
Well, it's difficult to say because there are so many stories from so many different hospitals and different care homes. But there is one thing that we can be sure of, and one thing that the expose demonstrates clearly is that there is still a shortage of what I think is the main required part of PPE, which is the ICU, the FFP3 mask. That seems to me to be the mask that is most difficult to get into the UK right now. I mean, we get inquiries every day for PPE. It's mainly masks, but if you take something like the standard surgical 3-ply mask that you see the nurses using every day. Well, now, in fact, everybody in the hospital, from the porters, I think everybody has to be regarded now as frontline workers. Look, there's a London hospital very local to us now that asked us for masks only last week. And, what we would normally do is send in an ambassador with a couple of thousand 3-ply masks. And this hospital has said, well, that won't touch the size. They are burning through 60,000 3-ply masks a day. So that gives you an idea of what we're faced with. So, I mean, if you've got a London hospital only last week asking us, a relatively small charity, 60,000 masks a day. I mean,
Sure.
To just put that into context, it's huge.
I mean, some of the stories that your research has discovered are frankly gobsmacking. A care home worker, a BAME care home worker, only issued with their first mask in June. Firefighters being warned not to speak publicly about shortages for fear of being sacked. A hairstylist revealing that bosses had refused to supply staff with PPE due to its cost. You're asking the Health Secretary to come out on one of your deliveries. What do you think he will be able to see if he accompanies you?
Well, it wasn't me, actually. It was Tamer Hassan. As you know, he set the charity up with me. But Look, Tamara is out every single day with the rest of our ambassadors. I mean, I don't have enough time or enough words to explain what an incredible job those guys are doing. And they are literally out every day. And I think what the Health Secretary would find is frankly a very different picture to one that sometimes I think we're all led to believe.
Well, again, Matthew, I have to say, congratulations on taking the personal tragedy and turning it into something good. Matthew McGann, thank you for joining us on the programme this morning. We wish you and the charity continued good success.
Thank you.
Now, time for a quick check on the weather. Nazanin has